This is my take on free speech as a Christian. This is how I see my beliefs aligning with the idea of free speech and the First Amendment. Now, I don't expect you to accept my beliefs or necessarily join me in my beliefs, but it may be handy for you to understand my beliefs, and that's the point of this. So when I say something in this video, that's something that I believe. It's not necessarily something that every other Christian believes. This isn't entirely scripted. It's just some thoughts I've written down and some things I've been pondering for quite a while, and with free speech coming to the forefront and the headlines more and more, I thought it would be handy to talk about the subject. First, I believe that rights come from an all-powerful God, which is also kind of the starting point for the Constitution. These rights are directly installed or instilled in humans. Cars come with tires, humans come with rights and a heartbeat. It's intrinsic to our nature. It's part of who we are. Now, second, humans are made after the image of God and are thus given similar attributes. The ability to think, to speak, to create, to build, to arm themselves, and so on. Arguably, rights are an idea of the freedom to self-express, self-determine, and self-identify. And yes, this includes the option to express and identify oneself even as an atheist or an anti-theist. So third, if God then gives these rights, only God can legitimately take them without special exception. The special exception would of course be lawbreakers, those who use their own rights or their own freedom or their own actions to deny the rights of others. People like this obviously need to be curtailed and restrained. But outside of criminal punishment, those who attempt to deny the rights of others are declaring that God made a mistake in giving someone these rights, that this person should not be allowed to have these rights. The person attempting to strip the rights of others is actually putting themselves in the position of a god, declaring what rights humans must or must not have because somehow God got it wrong. If that's not hubris, I don't know what is. Governments can act this way as well when they step into the place of God and silence people. And obviously that's a greater evil now because there's a mechanized force or a system that crushes a human right. God gave men mouths to speak, and it was men who came along with gags for others. Now, of course, this brings up the idea of blasphemy laws. Christians and believers are not to blaspheme or say certain things against God, at least in the Christian belief. I would argue this really only means something to those who believe rights come from God in the first place. Additionally, I don't believe in nationalized blasphemy laws because when the ruling party ends up changing or switching religions, then the definition of blasphemy changes as well, and that's fairly useless. So no, people shouldn't blaspheme, and there should be no law regarding this either. It's a normative statement, and it's one that I don't expect everyone lives by. But this is obviously something we do as believers, and we do it voluntarily. The reason for this is that taking God lightly or without reverence means that what He wants and what He does can become marginalized in our minds. If God becomes a flippant being to me, I have less regard for the fact that He gave someone else a right, and I might just feel entitled to deny them that right or justify their silencing. That's how I would see it anyway. On the other hand, if one's God is so fragile that he must be protected from the very humans he created and the very rights he gave them, and all this protection must be accomplished by other self-appointed humans, then how weak is that God? I guess in summary what I would say is that I believe the most powerful force in existence, the God of the universe, gave you the mouth, the mind, and the ability to speak. In that case, who am I to silence you? Who am I to stand in the place of God and declare you unfit for life, freedom, and happiness because you express yourself differently from me, or you even express yourself against me? I am no one to silence another. It is to my own master that I stand or fall. Those who claim to believe in God and believe that rights come from God cannot silence others and do so with any sort of cohesion in their beliefs. God gave people the ability to speak, and He allows 7 billion of them to speak every day. If God did not silence you, then frankly, neither will I.